Because yesterday, Vice President Kamala Harris delivered her closing argument against former President Donald Trump at the Ellipse. Joining us now is CEO of Maslansky and Partners, Michael, who attended last night to give us a sense of how it went, what it looked like, how it felt, and to see if it resonates beyond the Beltway, which is always the question. Is this an insular area where we saw nearly just record numbers? It started with a permit of 8,000. There were thousands upon thousands of people out there. Tell us your first thoughts of last night.
Well, thanks for having me. There were a lot of people there last night. I mean, they closed off capacity before she got started. The area in front of the monument was filled. I think it was more than they expected. It was certainly more than the people around expected, and she gave them a good show. This was an important moment for her. I think it wasn't quite clear whether or not she was going to come to play. She's had a rough couple of weeks since the launch of her campaign, and she gave a speech that was worthy of the moment, I think.
So she came to play last night. Do you think she sealed the deal?
Well, I think sealing the deal in the context of this race is incredibly hard to predict. I think that there are a lot of people, though, that are maybe decided today, but they could change their mind tomorrow. And so everything does make a difference. I think she had to give them a reason for them to vote for her. And I think she gave, for many people, a lot. This speech was focused on the middle. It was focused on people who didn't have a strong position on either side. It was focused a lot on women who are a group of people that she's winning by a lot and can really be the difference. And I think she did a whole host of things that are going to help her.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, because in the past there's been some talk that maybe she should stray away from only talking about Donald Trump. We had seen that town hall that she did with CNN, and it seemed as though it was only about Trump and not as much about what she plans to do when she becomes president. Did you see that shift in tone and in rhetoric?
So I think that was the big question, was she going to keep going down the road of just attacking Trump and attacking him and not focusing on herself? And I think we saw the Kamala Harris that we saw at the convention. She was focused on an optimistic vision of the future. She did separate herself from both President Biden and President Trump. She explained why this was going to be different from the last 4 years. And she used a lot of the language about common sense, about listening to the other side, about bringing people into the room even if she disagreed with them, and didn't focus on the fear factor. And there's one line that I thought was particularly powerful. For the last couple of weeks, she's been making Donald Trump into the big bad wolf. And this time, she framed him as a petty tyrant. And the impact of that, instead of making him big, she made him small. And if you want to go after Trump, then I think we've seen time and again that that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Really briefly, can you speak to the irony of having this speech at the Ellipse, the exact same spot from January 6th?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I'm not sure that it was the right thing to do or a necessary thing to do. I think if she's trying to be a candidate of optimism and the future and looking forward, then why do you want to go backwards? I understand why they did it. I think that one of the challenges that the Democrats have in general is that they are a little too kind of emotional about trying to beat Donald Trump and not always strategic. But I think the fact that it was outdoors, it was a gorgeous night, and there were a ton of people there, and it made room for all those people, unlike when Trump was at MSG. There are only a certain number of people who can get in there. So it did tell a story that there were a huge number of people there.
Was the imagery, right? You had the White House behind her, and yes, on the Ellipse, a scene of where that speech that Donald Trump gave on January 6th. But if you look at polling, when they poll Democrats and ask how high on your list of priorities is January 6th, it's not. So to continue, to your point, to hammer on that, maybe, it seems like she's having a shift here in the final week because it's not working, at least with the polling. We'll see. Do you think that there was a crowd there that was receptive to potentially voting for Donald Trump, or do you think that these were mostly Democrats who were looking to get some reassurances from the candidate they either voted for or they will vote for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there are too many undecideds that go to these rallies. I don't think that that's the point. The point is to rally the base, because there were a lot of people there from Pennsylvania, from North Carolina, from Georgia, from other places, and they're going to go home, and their job now is going to be to get people out to vote. And if they were energized and they now have new ammunition to go back, then they're going to be much more effective in the 6 days that we have left.
All right, Michael, thank you for your insight and for giving us that account from last night. We appreciate you stopping by here on the DMV.